My literature review topic is the causes of divorce among Muslim couples. My research questions are Muslim couples divorcing more now than they have been in the past 40 years? And how can these divorce rates among Muslim couples be lowered? A lot of these Muslim couples, they are getting divorced for reasons that are different from folks in Western countries would get divorced. The patterns and reasons may vary region to region. It's hard to pinpoint those exact reasons and factors for the divorces. According to some statistics, there have been evidence to show that divorce rates have been climbing since 2010 a bit. And in most Islamic countries and Muslim families, divorce is a private issue. It's not very much discussed. A lot of the time, they rely on arranged marriages where parents and extended family members search for the bride and groom for their other daughter or son. And during these arranged marriages, they use something called a biodata. It's kind of like a resume for marriage. This has all the details of the bride or groom and their picture and details of each family member. Details like their complexion and blood type and height, occupation. And every country will kind of do this tradition a little differently and have different restrictions. A lot of couples are usually fixed around 19, 20, early 20s, and they're new to these financial responsibilities or other responsibilities they have. And that's why they divorce in the first 2 months or 3 years. And they divorce around ages either 25 through 29 as the peak age to divorce. And so they're married in a rush, big risk factor. And, arranged marriages are conducted differently in each country, but a lot of the time it's not uncommon that the man and woman are not going to talk to each other, or they're not going to have very deep personal conversations. They're going to have very surface level conversations, which they can't really get to know each other. So a lot of women wish they did get the chance to know each other and ask those questions. Men didn't really feel that way, however. Their attitude is a bit different. After divorce, they feel a sense of relief. So there's a big communication block between the couples. It's a big cause for divorce, and these conflicting personalities is kind of the cause of it. And it's hard to avoid, but not having that open communication and not knowing what to say is kind of what's a big risk factor for divorce. Lack of respect is very common, and both men and women talked about it, but they just described it a little differently. So for the husbands, lack of respect looked like the wife being jealous, or if the wife was yelling at them or other family members of theirs. For the wives, the lack of respect looked like if their opinion wasn't valued or they had a job or career. The husband disagreeing with them, not allowing the wife to make choices, punishing them if they just give input. That brings me to the next risk factor, domestic violence. Very big cause of divorce is the violence within the marriages. Wives being insulted or hit in front of their children just for disagreeing with their husband. And this, as another risk factor is this communication gap, which is caused by being separated by sex at an early age. It's not uncommon to just be boys and girls to have their own schools, and even in public spaces, just to be separated up until your university years, if it's a private one only. Economic tensions, not uncommon for these Muslim weddings to be very lavish, expensive, have lots of jewelry, lots of expensive clothes, lots of money being exchanged for the dowry, vehicles, even if you're in the UAE. And a lot of families take out big loans to pay for all this. One talked about how their wedding cost her 200 grand, but they divorced just a few months later. So this kind of need for a lavish lifestyle has bankrupted many and made it unable for folks to purchase their own homes. And when you're having an economy that has high housing costs, petrol-based, these economies are seeing high divorce rates because of these reasons. And there is a correlation between the high housing costs and the divorce rate. Doesn't mean that's the cause. It could be other things, other macroeconomic causes like unemployment. When you have unemployment, you have inflation. This increases the chances that a couple would suffer from financial stress, like higher cost of living. Risk factor, family interference. It's very common. It's a very big cause of divorce. It's because the family members are very invested in the new bride that come to live with the family. Modern day couples now are wanting to move out because of this. One wife talked about how her husband would always disagree with her due to the interference. And this is just like a lack of privacy. Family members have been known to control when the couple would get to go out. And this causes a lot of stress with the wives. There's a lot of pressure for this reason to purchase homes, however they can't afford it. So more on family interference. Families can be very demanding. In Zanzibar, families extract their daughters from weddings or ceremonies, unions where the daughters marry men who are of lower economic stature. Now, this is a local tradition. However, version of this can happen in Muslim families. The next risk factor is transactional attitude towards marriage. As if a man says talaq to his wife 3 times, they're considered to be divorced. Some men have had wives in different homes without the other wives knowing about it. And another type is the contract marriages, known as sigha, muta, or akad. Contract marriages like these have been known to be used to achieve an ends to a means, both for men and women. Some protective factors I'm going to get into about the high costs of divorce lawyers. It prevents couples from wanting to get divorced. Married people statistically have a better well-being. That's due to the trust, the support, the meaningful life they share together. Another protective factor, very powerful, marriage counseling. There are programs that have space for couples to discuss their frustrations with each other in hopes of prevent divorce, and other marriage enrichment programs that help improve the quality of marriage and improve marital communication between the couple. There's evidence to show that this increases the well-being and satisfaction of the couple and helps the couple adjust to one another. And these have been shown to reduce divorce rates in Western countries. When working with Islamic couples, Islamic values like conflict resolution, peace, tranquility, and love are held in high perspective. My summary conclusion: a lack of respect, on top of bad communication, financial disagreements, which are caused not allowing the wives to be a part of the economic choices, have all perpetuated divorce. And instead of focusing on authority, if husbands were to focus on equality, their marriages would definitely last longer. Having one's own home, saving up for that would help to prevent any outside extended family interference. Some transcultural perspective, cultural knowledge that would be helpful for social workers is knowledge about arranged marriages and the biodata that are used for arranged marriages, and as well as Islamic values. Transcultural perspective, cultural competence. It's good to know that in Islam, parents are held in high esteem. And Islamic marital values may seem conservative and outdated compared to our Western standards because of the heavy focus on family and the marriage over the individual. Still, we may disagree. It's best to stay neutral and not insert our own personal beliefs. We want to focus on our client and the treatment of the couple. So, relevance to social work. Social workers should be invested more into Muslim couples and the divorce rates, because a lot of Muslim couples these days are getting divorced really quickly without giving counseling a chance. And if they're not doing that, they just suffer without giving marriage counseling a chance. So if marriage counselors and social workers did emphasize Muslim couples and took the time to understand that complexity, then they would see divorce rates go down, and they'd also be able to help lots of suffering men and women in toxic marriages. Some research questions that are prompted by this review is: how can we make services like couples counseling more accessible to Muslim couples and their families? And what kinds of counseling are most effective in sustaining these marriages of Muslim couples? Here's my bibliography, where I based all of my research on. Now I'll tell you a little bit about how I selected my 10 articles here and which ones I decided to give more emphasis. I basically picked articles where I could find out the exact reasons Muslim men and women divorce their spouses. The articles that cited direct interviews with these former spouses are the ones that I've selected, as well as articles that talked about invasive divorce or marital traditions. I picked those out as well to use for my literature review. I also used articles that had cited marital laws that prevent divorce or laws that make it easier to divorce.